believe that.
So,
I don't believe because
So what do you believe? Because you hired an investigator?
Yeah, I hired investigators for it because I didn't believe, like, for Tiffany.
Chris Lighty's death is labeled a suicide.
Right.
I can't live with that.
I can't fathom that because this is the first I seen. You see, Nori, this is the first that was somebody. So I could never, ever see Chris doing something to himself.
That's true, so your family feel you should do the investigation?
No question.
Okay, why is that?
I just feel that there's a lot of unanswered questions. And I need answers.
You need answers?
Yeah.
You don't feel like...
Scent just released the receipts from Chris Lighty's most recent autopsy report. Finally, evidence that Diddy was responsible for Chris's death has surfaced. After 50 found out that Diddy had arranged an odd ritual celebration for Chris's funeral, they hired a fresh private investigator. Diddy also instructed the crowd to create noise rather than keeping a hush for Chris. That is not only devilish, but it is also insulting. 50 is therefore eager to learn the truth about this matter once and for all. Chris Lighty was more than simply a famous Def Jam music executive. It turns out, he was a relative of 50 Cent. Furthermore, 50 never accepted the official version of Chris' suicide. Chris Lighty, who had led my career over the mountaintops and into the valleys, was no longer with me. A new private investigator was recently recruited by 50 Cent to determine the true cause of Chris Lighty's death. 50 is determined to establish Diddy's involvement in Chris's demise this time.
Grieving mother, superstar artist 50 Cent has brought in a high-powered team to investigate the hip-hop mogul's death.
Lighty oversaw the careers of Diddy, 50 Cent, and other celebrities, and arranged multi-million-dollar contracts. Many of his friends are still shocked by the New York City medical examiner's ruling, though. The family requested a second autopsy from former New York City medical examiner Dr. Michael Baden.
The cause of death, clear as a gunshot wound to the head. The manner of death, accident, homicide, till.
Therefore, 50 is bringing this up again because Chris's name was brought up during Diddy's trial in Rico. But it got absolutely no coverage from the major media. Capricorn Clark, Diddy's ex-assistant, testified that Diddy dismissed her after she saw the entire Cassie and Kid Cudi event. After being sacked, Capricorn told Diddy's lawyer, "I was hired by Chris Lighty to work for 50 Cent." Now, the US lawyer cross-examined Capricorn, asking, "What happened with the job with Chris Lighty?" Diddy's lawyer did not raise this matter or make any additional inquiries about Chris Lighty. "He died the day before I was supposed to start," she added. "At the time, it was unrelated to a job at Interscope. I was instructed not to disturb Puff." Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifil, objected right away, and the judge upheld it. So why would Diddy's lawyer be so alarmed when Capricorn brought up Chris Lighty? According to Capricorn, she was blacklisted after Diddy sacked her. However, the judge upheld her claim notwithstanding Mark Agnifil's objection as well. This certainly has a problem. After seeing him viciously attack Cassie and set off Kid Cody's car, Diddy fires Capricorn. Chris Lighty helps Capricorn land a new job with 50 Cent after Diddy dismisses her. Still, Chris ends his own life the day before she is scheduled to begin. Although this is unusual, we're about to find something even stranger. You may read the official account of Chris's passing here. Chris's body was discovered dead on August 30th, 2012, outside his South Riverdale, Bronx residence. The bullet went through his head. Chris also committed suicide, according to NBC New York's report the next day. According to the same report, Chris was discovered at approximately 11:30 a.m. Furthermore, a law enforcement source reported that he was discovered face-up with a 9mm handgun on the basement's back patio. The media began fabricating the tale shortly after. Some claim that Chris battled with his estranged wife, Veronica, prior to his death, while others claim that he was upset because he owed the IRS a sizable sum. 50 Cent and other close friends of Chris, however, refuted all of these reports. 50 openly stated in a subsequent Drink Champs interview that he didn't think Chris committed suicide. Reports that Chris was also having financial difficulties were refuted by him. 50 claimed that because Chris had recently regained the money he had lost, he was actually doing extremely well financially. Additionally, he returned the $1 million he had borrowed from 50.
Yeah, Chris managed me basically my whole career. I'm sorry to ask this question, but we're going to both ask this question. Do you think he committed suicide?
I don't believe that. He got money, but it was tied in the investments that he would have lost. He would have had penalties if he pulled out before the time period. So I said, I give you $1 million and you just give it back to me. You know, when the thing is like on the time periods, like we'll make periods and he said, all right, cool. He didn't even ask, I said I'd give it to you because it didn't make sense for me to we make too much money together for you to be under those. I'm not sure you're gonna work the same. Right. If you got that type of pressure on you. This is going Skip, you miss it. They didn't miss no family vacations, no nothing.
All right.
Everything's happening the way it would happen at any other point. So the crazy part is at the time that I'm actually getting the phone call from him, is me telling him, look, he's saying, yo, that's already dealt with. Cause like time went by,
He's talking about what is it? When he say
he gave me back the $1 million, Lord.
Oh, he gave you back.
So the money that I had loaned him, the $1 million, at the time that right before he passed away, is us having a conversation like, yo, talk to your people because all that money, you know, I did that. That's dope. It's all back now. So tell me.
What matter of time is that? Like
that was
2 weeks later?
Nah, it's an 8-month time period.
Okay.
But in the 8-month time,
he gave you with the profit?
He put the money back, the $1 million.
Chris then arranged for 50 Cent to embark on a world tour just before his untimely demise. A second person close to Chris told Fox 5
was not deep in a bottomless financial hole and that he had just secured a world tour for 50 Cent for next year, which...
Several officials also denied that Chris's suicide was caused by his divorce. According to this Daily Mail piece, Veronica Lighty denied that she and Chris had a disagreement prior to his passing. But according to Chris's family, he did not commit suicide. Furthermore, in an interview with Sway in the Morning, Chris's brother Dave Lighty asserted that all of the accusations of foul play were true.
Rumors and things swirling around your brother's death. I'm not even gonna ask you about that. Okay?
Well, the rumors are just...
Dave also said the family felt the police closed the case too soon. Therefore, they were undertaking their own inquiry.
Not even gonna ask you about that. Okay?
Well, the rumors are justified.
They're justified?
I believe so.
Dave also confirmed that the family was pursuing their own investigation because they believed the police closed the case too quickly.
You know, one of the things that people have been talking about is that investigation that's going on. Is that true?
Definitely.
That's true, so your family feel you should do the investigation?
No question.
Okay, why is that?
I just feel that there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I need answers.
You need answers?
Yeah.
You don't feel like he took his own life?
Nah, you know, I was with my brother almost every day. So, you know, till the last couple of months because I was going to school. So it's not, that's not my brother.
That's not in his
DNA. Not my brother. I know we were all going through stressful times. Everybody was. Shit, the economy is terrible right now. At the same time, man, Chris was a go-getter, you know, the ultimate non-stopping machine. Yeah. You know? And that's just not something that I would see him putting upon the rest of us and everybody that he knows.
AB, Chris's cousin, then asserted that Chris was incapable of killing himself. Regardless of how badly the NIPT handled the matter, he asked, AB asserts that NIPT just went on what they thought. Nothing in the house conveys the message. I no longer want to live. He had been feeling great for a while. How was he able to accomplish that? At that point, 50 Cent intervened and started collaborating with private investigator Les Lavini to resolve the problem. 50 thought of Chris as family, you see. Additionally, 50 frequently stated that he would not have been able to succeed without Chris's help. In his audiobook, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, 50 described the moment he found out about Chris's passing. You could just hear the anguish in his voice.
The manager was dead. I had been standing in the middle of a bustling office, but when I heard the words Chris is dead, it was like the noise around me suddenly turned off. I can't believe I just heard you say those words to me, I told my friend. Say it again so I'm sure I'm hearing you right. But there was no miscommunication, no mistake. Chris Lighty, the man who helped guide my career both through the valleys and over the mountaintops, was gone. Even more devastatingly, I was being told that he had shot himself. That Chris Lighty, one of the smartest, most self-assured, and most motivated people I'd ever met, had decided to take his own life.
Included Tiffany, Chris's daughter, in his will as an additional testament to how much Chris meant to him.
Rewriting my will to include her. I'm so supportive of Tiffany that I didn't even flip when she knocked the mirror off one of the Lambos I let her drive.
Chris was obviously much more than just a business partner. When Chris was still out advertising his mixtapes, he first met 50. They clicked right away, and Chris soon began managing 50 after founding Violator Management in 1996. Violator has had appearances by well-known musicians like LL Cool J, Mariah Carey, and Busta Rhymes. The late 1990s saw the addition of 50. Chris, in his 50s, guided him through his career from a comparatively young age. Thus, you can only imagine 50's outrage then, when he learned that Chris might have been taken out by Diddy. At this point, the mood becomes somewhat gloomy. Lil Lavini was 50 Cent's private investigator. Chris was not a suicidal person, he decided. I guess it comes down to the question, do I believe that Chris killed himself? As said by Lavini on Fox News, the response is no. Chris has absolutely no chance of committing over money or over anything else, Lavini added. His wife. He had too many other options, Lavini continued. In support of Lavini's remarks, 50 Cent told Fox shortly before his death that Chris had just agreed to collaborate with him on a $4 million tour agreement. In the meantime, other industry insiders began to openly express their belief that Chris did not commit suicide. On Drink Champs, Tony Yeo, who had known Chris for years, claimed that the reported cause of death was absurd.
Can't fathom that, cause it's the first I seen with the G-Wagon. This the first I seen get fly. You know what I'm saying? This the first where we used to come to Violator. That's when it was, you know, they had Buster, they had Diddy, they had Foxy. I'm coming there, you see Freeway, you see Nori. This is the first that was somebody. So I could never ever see Chris doing something to himself. And he's always gonna get money because fucking me. Yo, when it comes to that G-Unit brand and that 50 brand, Chris Lighty and Violator play a major part in it.
50 Hip-Hop bemoaned Chris Lighty's passing and asked about his passing when he rapped about him in his 2012 obituary song. He benefited my career. $1 million was offered to each of us. What killed him? Chris's acquaintances realized that their claims are untrue. Chris's family chose to have a second autopsy done in the interim, but for some reason, the results were never released to the public. What then does this mean? Has anyone been taken advantage of? Why did the public debate about some industry heavyweights' involvement in foul play get so heated? Did they not think Chris committed suicide? Suddenly, however, the entire story simply vanishes. Yes, it's quite obvious why. Exactly. Many claim that Diddy staged Chris's death as self-inflicted by masking the true evidence using his law enforcement contacts and influence. This is a darker reason for 50 Cent's current belief that Diddy killed Chris Lighty. Diddy used to be Chris's manager, and he went to Chris's burial. But do you know what Diddy managed to do in just one day? Since Chris's body was discovered, he held a gathering. It's also not just any party. He declared it to be the city's hottest party. It was held on September 1st, 2012, at the Chateau nightclub and gardens in Paris, Las Vegas, and continued till the next morning. Diddy told the crowd that the celebration was a tribute to Chris, in case you found that strange, according to E! News. Instead of keeping a minute of silence, Diddy suggested that they all make noise. Yes, Diddy's strange homage raised questions, even in my mind. Rather than grieving the loss of his former manager alone, Sean Diddy Combs honored his late friend Chris Lighty in front of hundreds of guests at his annual Labor Day celebration in Las Vegas on Saturday night. The statement continued. He also claims that Diddy said to his guests, "We don't do moments of silence. 3 seconds of noise are produced by us." You could be thinking, this sounds like another Whitney Houston situation, and it's giving off major ritual vibes. However, you're not alone. During Diddy's trial, 50 Cent allegedly hired a fresh private investigator to investigate Chris's death after hearing his name mentioned. When 50 was working on his next Diddy documentary, he reportedly looked at the receipt personally. On the day following Chris's passing, he learned that Diddy had hosted a strange ceremonial celebration. However, allow me to present to you something very horrifying. Diddy attended that party dressed like this. On the surface, it may not seem like much, but look at the symbols on his t-shirt. In case you are unfamiliar with it, this is the star of Ishtar. It's not a simple sign. A god was associated with the ancient Mesopotamian sign known as the Star of Ishtar. Occult power, sacrifice, worship, exclusive initiation, and ceremonies. For millennia, it has symbolized the passage from life to death. Additionally, it is still seen in publications about secret societies today. Ishtar's star, for instance, frequently appears in the film Eyes Wide Shut, in which elites wear masks and carry out ceremonial procedures. As for Diddy and his occult connections, you've likely already heard that he practiced animal sacrifice and other dark arts.
To receive the verdict back for this 1999 club shooting case. So, years ago, decades ago at this point. But Diddy allegedly made a pit stop in Central Park. He met a man, and they allegedly took part in some sort of ritualistic killing that was supposed.
Diddy's preoccupation with destroying 50 Cent, the date of Chris's death, and the symbolism all stem from this. All of them were too close to one another. At the Chris Memorial celebration, Diddy wore a t-shirt with the same symbol. Many people think it's too good to be true after it was recently disclosed that Diddy used to host these strange idol worship ceremonies around the full moon. Furthermore, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, claimed that these customs would fall on the birthdays of Diddy's close friends who passed away in dubious circumstances.
When he spoke about the winter solstice, and that's when the pagans and people who believe in the cult was looking for that moon on 12/12 at 12 a.m. And they were doing spiritual rituals at that time. That's when that was going to be the last day of the full moon. And that means that the seasons and all that stuff has changed. But when you get into that spiritual realm stuff, it was when people they went and they paid homages to certain sacrifices and homages to certain idols. And on the third day, they would drink, party, be merry, and the men would have sex with each other. If you don't believe it, look it up for yourself. It was the last day of the full moon. And because it landed on 12/12 at 12, that's when ritual sacrifices and prayers and everything was given to certain idols. And on the third day, they drank, they be merry and be happy, and the men would give gifts to each other and have sex with each other. So it was bigger than that. And he gave his day on my man's birthday. 3 days after the full moon, 3 days after the last moon on 12/12, 12 a.m.